Hello, travelers, and welcome to the Horror Greenbook, the channel that takes you from coast to coast and con to con. Hello, travelers, and welcome to the Horror Greenbook, the channel that takes you from coast to coast and con to con. I am your travel guide, Brendon, here in the scary sanctuary, bringing to you the next review of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2, Through the Valley. Guys, I am totally in my emotions after watching this episode last night, and I'm still processing things, as I'm sure many of you still are as well. So let's go ahead, jump right into it, and process this together. So it starts with Abby having a dream where she finds her dad, and it's another version of her telling her to stop. You can tell it's a reoccurring dream of her, in Salt Lake City, in the hospital, seeing all the bodies of all the different fireflies. These are people that she's known, and to end up and see her own father, um, you know, has been killed in cold blood. It's a very traumatic thing, and I'm pretty sure she's getting more and more of these dreams the closer that she gets to Jackson. So it's a very interesting scenario to see in this show because everyone's been affected over these years, these decades in this world. So as you can see, Abby and her friends, they stopped and camped, from the ending of last episode to scope out Jackson Hole. And to their surprise, it's actually a town instead of a ragtag setup. So they have to put their heads together to find a way to infiltrate Jackson. It's going to be a lot easier said than done, that's for sure, because Jackson's security is top notch. They have the top flight security of the world, Craig. So we move a little bit forward, and Ellie is waking up from the previous night, probably maybe a little hungover, But Jesse comes to visit her and get her ready for the patrols and such. And he tells her, "Well, I hear that you had a pretty exciting night last night." And she automatically assumes that he's coming there to talk to her about Dina. So she makes a confession about, "Oh, well, Dina kissed me, and it wasn't my intentions, and she's obviously nervous." And um, Jesse knew nothing of the sort. He only heard about the fight. So he's just like, "Oh, wow, we've only been broken up a week, and you're only already moving in on my girl and stuff like that." And you can tell Ellie's a bit like, and then it's obviously a joke. So he's like, "Hey, no harm, no foul. It's all good. You know, just want y'all to be happy. Wish you best of luck." That type of energy. So that's one of those cool things about Jesse. He's a totally likable guy, and you totally want the best for him, especially in that situation where he could be mad, but he's just like, "No, this it's all good." Um, Later on, we get a conversation about the infected using their dead as insulation in the winter, which is a very scary thought. So um, these infected are pretty smart. They're pretty crafty, and they're not just dumb, shambling zombies that are very predictable. So they seem to have a few tricks up their sleeves as far as their survival. Um, and it's also been noticed that Joel and Ellie are on a bit of the outs. Of course, people that are pretty close with each other, if they kind of drift away, people that are used to seeing them together also kind of notice that. So it's been spoken about within the town, I'm sure. And Ellie explains that it's a pretty complicated thing. And for those of you that haven't played the game, you'll find out exactly what makes it complicated. Um, Joel and Ellie, they were supposed to go on patrol together, but he decided to instead go with Dina in order to not disturb Ellie's rest because I'm pretty sure he assumed that it was a long night and she did not want to be bothered with him as per her last words spoken to him and how she coldly walked away from him when they saw each other after the New Year's Eve festivities in the town. Um, we move forward, and Tommy is having a meeting and discussing emergency plans in case of a breach. It's one of those things I imagine that you constantly want to go over with the town to make sure everyone's on the same accord, everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Even with the little kids, as you see in this scene, you got to make sure the babies know where they're going because you don't want them running off into the woods. Don't go off into the forest, kids. um, Maria makes the bigoted guy apologize to Ellie, and he makes her and Jesse food for them to enjoy on their patrol, which I personally would have been a bit iffy about eating myself, but maybe that's just me. You don't want someone that is you're on shaky ground with preparing your food. So um, I don't know how trusting Ellie is right now, but if she was raised by Joel, then she probably threw that sandwich away. While everyone's out on patrol, a snowstorm rolls into town, and Tommy calls in the patrols. Um, Ellie and Jesse are far too out to come back into town, or else they will get caught in the snowstorm. So they have to hold up together and ride it out in what is a convenience store full of weed, which I mean, I guess you gotta have in every town. And the fact that it is a nice little secret that Jesse was sworn to secrecy by Eugene when they found it together is a nice little footnote to know that 420 the episode aired on 420, so they had nice 420 references on this episode coincidentally, but it turns out that Eugene was a firefly, which brings up plenty of emotions within Ellie. It's mentioned that he may have served in Vietnam and that he was tired of killing people. In this post apocalyptic world, you know, you would just imagine that he probably had to just go back to his killing days when he thought they were over. And someone that is, a veteran dealing with PTSD, which I'm pretty sure he likely had, to have to go back into a war scenario, an indefinite one, I guess would surely weigh in on him and every other veteran as well. But it's also discussed how Joel had to put him down. So it makes one wonder, with the revelation of Eugene being a firefly, if Joel had to kill him because Eugene found out what Joel did back in Utah. Still plenty of questions to be answered, but I think we are going to learn more about Joel's hard side, where he had to do cold-blooded things to survive. And when that happens, it just really sends out a ripple effect into the universe, which sooner or later will come back to you. Abby, we're going back to Abby. While she's doing spying, they're doing reconnaissance on Jackson Hole. She ends up falling down a hill into another one of those frozen pits of the infected that were being used as insulation that was mentioned earlier in this episode. And the ones underneath detect her, and before you know it, the chase is on. Abby's training definitely is obviously working on her and in her favor, because the mountain air obviously isn't really giving her too much trouble. Because if that was me, oh, that thin air would have been tearing me up, guys. Let me tell you. But she ends up scaling a wall, but it's too many of them, and she ends up getting pinned against a fence, and she almost doesn't make it until she's rescued by Joel himself. What a coincidence, guys. So, talk about being fortunate for Abby. So, with this going on, we get a little bit of a key difference from the game with when they with the rescue, um, they find a little bit of a refuge in a building nearby, and Dina calls out Joel's name, and that's a huge difference from the game because you know it was a major gripe with some people in the game that Joel reveals himself to Abby, which people were like, Joel would never do that. He's so used to being in this apocalypse. Why would he reveal his name to strangers, knowing, no, that he's due to receive a receipt any day now, any year now, any second now. So, Dina, Abby, and Joel, they make a dash for it, and because the door to the building that they escaped is about to give, they run off. Um, the word gets out to Jesse on the walkie-talkie that Dina and Joel haven't been accounted for, so him and Ellie go searching for them. Meanwhile, a work crew comes across more of the weird cordyceps tendrils that are in the pipes that were shown last week, which alerts the attention of the infected to Jackson home. And on another side of town, it's noticed that the horde of infected that Abby stirred up is headed that way. So everyone in town has to hide. They're scrambling. The excitement is ramping up. Everyone is batting down the hatches and getting into position to defend themselves. This really starts to take me back to Game of Thrones battles at this moment, and I'm loving it. The town is rolling out barrels full of fuel as bombs to clear the infected, and then they're mowing them down as they arrive at the gate. There's just so much chaos going on. We go back to Dina and Joel. They want to make it to town to help defend it, but Abby manages to convince them to come back to the cabin to grab help from her friends. And you can tell that Joel is, questioning it, but time is really running out, and he, decides to just go ahead and go to the cabin. The walls eventually get breached, Attack on Titan style, and Tommy rushes down with a few people to help, cut them off. Tommy, Tommy's such a rider, y'all. I love Tommy. He's down there standing tall while a few of the Jackson members run away like cowards. So in the chaos, he's out there with his flamethrower, and he notices Maria is grabbing the attention of one of the bloaters. And he's like, oh, no, I can't be having that because, as anyone has noticed or played the games, you grab the attention of a bloater, it's coming straight after you. So he goes and finds a good position, and he pulls the attention of the bloater from her, and he runs off so that it can follow him. Unfortunately, while he's doing that, he manages to get cornered in an alley where he has to use the flamethrower, but it only seems to make it mad, all while Tommy's running out of fuel. So Tommy's really close to biting the dust before the timer goes off, and it turns off, and next thing you know, the bloater has been cooked long enough, and he just falls over. You gotta love that ding. You're like, oh, food's done. So we got a well-cooked bloater that's well done. And we go back to town, and there are just bodies everywhere. It's mentioned by Abby's friends how the town has dogs, and they make an appearance ripping out the throats of infected, which looks very cool. So that's a very cool callback from earlier in the episode, and in reference to Jackson's security. So we get down to Dina, Joel, and Abby, and they make it back to the cabin. And Abby is totally on edge right now. So much anxiety because she has come across the man that she's been looking for all these years now. She's been training for this moment. Now, while everything's going on, they're checking on Dina because she got injured. Joel's looking out the window at the town on fire. He's wanting to get back there. And Dina just so happens to manage to see the WLF patch on one of their backpacks. And before she can manage to, call out to Joel because she knows something's wrong, she's like, okay, they're with somebody. What's up? Um, Before she can call out to Joel, they take Dina hostage. Joel turns around and sees that situation. He can't do anything. They tell Joel as long as he cooperates, then she won't be harmed. So he's going to stay calm and see how things are going to shake out. They say that they will knock her out with something because Joel is not going to want to. He's not going to want her to see this. He at first assumes that they may be, raiders, and then he correctly guesses that they're fireflies. To which Abby replies that there are no more fireflies left. Abby asks Joel when was the last time that he saw fireflies, and she tells him not to lie. And he looks at her and he tells her Salt Lake City. She says at least he's honest before she kneecaps him with a shotgun. Very painful scene, guys. And while Joel is in pain, she tells her friends to tourniquet him because she doesn't want him to bleed out. She reveals to him that he killed 18 people, 18 soldiers and one doctor, I should say. So 19 people total, and the doctor, of course, being her father. And it's at this moment that that Joel has totally accepted his fate, and he's just ready to die, in which Abby is just not wanting to rush this at all, which is a bit different from how the game plays out, which I can appreciate how this all has rolled out. But she decides that she's going to go for that knee first, and it's just so painful to see Joel go through this, especially after going through him and Ellie's long trek last year, and you really feel for him. Meanwhile, Ellie she sees the horses and the cabin and figures out that this will likely be the place that Dina and Joel are holed up at. So she goes inside, and you can really feel the tension in the air as the scene unfolds. And before you know it, you see Abby taking out her aggression on Joel as Ellie goes through the door. And before she can actually attempt to defend Joel, they grab her, and they continue to look at Joel. Abby's friends are completely shook by what they're seeing, but they're going along with it. Ellie is just totally distraught right now. You can totally feel for her because you can see that even though she was so mad at Joel, she still loves this man. This man is a father figure to her. He's totally the only family that she has, and he's right there within inches of his life. And she's begging for him to get up. And guys, it's just such an emotional scene. She gets one last look of Joel as Abby plunges her the broken end of one of the golf clubs that she was using into Joel's neck. And, the crew just leaves Ellie because they were really only after Joel. But this was not before Ellie promises to kill them all. Ellie crawls over to Joel's lifeless body and embraces him as Jackson Hole is still reeling from the attack of the affected. They survived, but at the cost of many residents. You see Tommy, and he's extremely emotional over the losses in the town, and he doesn't even know that he just lost his brother as well. So you know it's just going to send him on the warpath, guys. The episode ends with Jesse, because Jesse rides in and, he finds Dina and Ellie, and they all go back on horseback, dragging the body of Joel in the snow back to Jackson. Man, travelers, those of us that played the game and knew that this show was going to be made, knew that this day was coming, and we just wanted it to be done respectfully, to Joel's character, which a lot of people found a problem with in the game. And thankfully, I think that it sticks true to what happened in the game and continues the story, but it doesn't make it Joel's fault by clumsily revealing himself to strangers, and instead it passes it off to Dina in a situation to where she didn't know what was happening. She's reacting naturally by calling out Joel's name in that situation. So, I mean, it's technically no one's fault in that situation. I think that it plays a bit better, and it makes fans a bit less angry with Joel's death. But well, we have a lot of wounds to lick over the next week, before the next episode. But I think that this is going to jump off a lot of excitement because, Ellie is not going to take this laying down. And on the trailer for the next episode, you can see that everyone is dealing with Joel's death in their own ways. Thankfully, Dina was there and conscious when Abby and her friends revealed themselves. So she has their names and information about their organization, the WLF, which will give Ellie all the ammunition she needs to go after them. So, travelers, if you enjoyed this review of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2, Through the Valley, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or as we call it on this channel, a Ash Williams severed hand. Comment in regards to anything on this particular episode. How did you take Joel's death? If you played the game, did you find the way that the show did it better or worse than how they did it in the game? Or also, how you feeling? Let me know how you doing, travelers. I need a wellness check for you guys. I'm doing okay. I had a lot of time to prepare for this particular episode. So I'm here for you guys if you need me. And lastly, travelers, if you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure the notification bell is, on, because you never know when I will drop some new content on this channel. I go to horror movie conventions. I go to horror filming locations. I interview celebrities. I do live movie watch-alongs. I do a little bit of everything on this channel, travelers, that's horror related. So if you are a horror fiend like myself and you just can't get enough of horror content, stick around and make the Scary Sanctuary your home away from home, travelers. Again, travelers, I am your travel guide, Brendon, with the Horror Greenbook, signing off and letting you know that it is scary in those streets. So let me know that you made it home safely.